sitting up here drone in the bed, naked, with having what a man should have. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The difference between the men and the women, like down below. I had that in the bed with a smile on my face and a crown. I had a crown on my head. So, honey, at least I had a crown on my head. Hi, welcome back. So, people have asked or wondered what it's like to be a foster mom. I wanted to do a video on being a foster mom, some of the things that come along with it. So here we go. First thing I would say is having a support system. Like, it's important having a support system. And when I say a support system, I mean a system or people that you can talk to about whatever issue that you're having, or like maybe something's going on with the child and you just need to vent, or you just need to talk to somebody. And they're also following up with you as well. That kind of support system, not just random people you talk to. I would suggest to have a support system. When I first thought about becoming a foster mom, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And then the pros and the cons, like behavior issues, or like my home, because there's a lot of factors that you have to consider. You know, are you fostering for a certain period of time, or is it a designated time? Now, that's something that you would need to ask your social worker, because your social worker was my, first line of contact along with the agency. Let's talk about the agency first. The agency set me up with a child who needed a foster home. She was a twin. It was a girl, and she was actually like 7 years old. What I didn't know at the time was she actually knew she was going to be going back home. I didn't know that. They didn't tell me when I first got her, it's only going to be this amount of months. I found out all this after the fact. So I would suggest to ask questions before you actually, like those type of questions, like how long is it going to be? What's the duration? Because they just told me that she had a situation and she just needed placement. And it could be for a year or more. This is what was told to me. Well, come to find out, it was actually only for 4 months. I found out that later from the child and from the social worker. Because when the child first came, she was like, oh, I'm only going to be here for this amount of time. Now, mind you, she's 7 years old. How she know this? I also found out later that she knew that she had been in more than one foster home. I didn't know that before. I did not know that. So it's like a lot of stuff I found out after the fact. I didn't know all these things before. I found out them after the fact. And, if I knew these things before, it would have helped me, determine, like, is this someone, hi, how are you? is this someone, or is this a situation that I want to put myself in? If I knew this ahead of time. Like, I didn't know that she'd be going back in 4 months. So anyway, getting the foster child, before I got the child, I had to go get so many certifications. I had to go online, register for classes, because you have to complete classes. For instance, I had to get certifications like bloodborne certifications. Now, I guess that has to do with blood and diseases and stuff like that, and how they spread. Like, you have to know those type of things. You have to know CPR. You have to know, like, they had me get a certification on internet safety. So I didn't know any of these things at first, but I went on their line and I got the certifications through the state, because I did mine through the state, because there's different agencies that you can go through, different foster agencies you can go through. I didn't find out that until later. I had to do a fire inspection. I think they have to be maybe within 5 years. So as long as they're within 5 years, then you can pass the fire inspection. So what happened was, the fire marshal came out to my home and they looked at all of the fire alarms. So all of the fire alarms were up to date. I had to make sure that I had a fire extinguisher as well. The fire extinguisher had to be a certain, because there's different levels of fire extinguishers. I never knew this. This is all stuff that I never knew. I had to have a certain fire extinguisher. I also had to have a map of the house. And after I got the map of the house, I had to draw out all of the exits and then do like an escape plan, like in case there was a fire, where we were going to meet up at. So I passed that. That went well. Did the courses. That went well. After I did all of that, it was time for placement. Now, the agency, they did send me just a number of different children or whatever, because different children there's different levels of care. There's also situations where a child may need to be given medication for whatever. We'll say ADHD or ADD. They may have that. Or they may be having to give medications for like seizures. It could just be a number of things. So that's also something to consider. But overall, getting the child, it wasn't a hard process or whatever. This took me pretty much like a year. And it took me a year because I kept putting it off. I put it off because I had a situation going on myself. So I wanted to make sure that I was straight. And plus, I was getting a fence to my home. I was getting that rebuilt. And I wanted to make sure that if the child was outside playing, they would be safe. Getting the child enrolled in school, of course, I mean, they're going to school, they're going to go to school at your school district, wherever your child would go to. As the same way, just any regular child. They're going to go to school in your school district, and they're going to have, well, depending on the age of the child, after school care. That Monday, we went to the school district. I enrolled her in school. And then I found like an after school program So I enrolled her in after school. That wasn't a hard thing. They paid for the after school, which was great. They paid for it like 100%. The teachers were very, very welcoming to the child because they knew what her situation was. They knew she was a foster child. Now, it wasn't required for me to tell them, I guess, because some of the things, like she had to have medications and all. At the school, she had to have medications. At the after school care, she also needed medications at my home, just in case. I think maybe like an EpiPen, because she needed EpiPens at school, my home, and also after school care. So my experiences, these are my experiences. So next, let's talk about behavior issues. Be doing some type of behavioral thing. They may have issues. They may, let's say, steal candy or eat when they're not supposed to. It just depends. It just depends. It depends on the child. It depends on their circumstances. It depends on what the child has been through. This particular child, what she used to do, I'll be like, hey, how was your day? She'd be like, oh, it was good. I was like, okay. So it was good. Yeah. It was good. I was like, okay. Meanwhile, she up here getting bad marks or whatever in school, meaning, like, you know how you get a check beside your name when you done something, like she used to talk excessively, or she would, oh, it's thundering, you hear that? Oh, that's not thundering. That's somebody on rollerblades. But she would go sit at the door while they were in class and start crying. She's saying, I want my mommy, I want my mommy. And I'm like, I found out this after the fact, because she never told me that she was getting bad marks. She never told me that she was crying at school. I actually reached out to the teacher and I found out she was doing that. So, and I asked her, I was like, so what's the problem? I was like, you know you're gonna see your mommy. She was like, yeah, I just miss her. I miss my sister, my brother. I was like, well, I understand. I was like, you're gonna see them, because they did have visitation as well. They did visitations, monthly visitations. Now with visitations, I will tell you, people will tell you, take pictures of the child's body, because what sometimes has happened, parents, their actual parents will bruise them, and then they'll be like, well, my child had this bruise on them. And if you sent that child away with no bruise, they have a visitation and they come back with a bruise, who do you think they're looking at? They're gonna be looking at you, and they're gonna be looking at you for any signs of abuse. That's another thing. You have to be careful. Like, if they get any new bruises or potential, I don't know, bruises, scars, anything, you need to write that down. That's another thing. I had a log that I wrote down everything that happened. Every single day, I would rate her. I would rate her as far as her mood. Did she listen? You know, was she being responsive? How was school that day? I would give a rating of all those things every single day. I would also have to provide times that I gave her the medication to make sure I was giving her medication on time. So everything that happened with her, it needed to be logged. My social worker loved me because I was very thorough. I made sure that everything was documented. I kept things documented. So that's why she loved me, because I was on top of it. I guess other foster parents, they did not log information like that on a regular basis. And you know, with the social workers or whatever, the visitation, they would have to come in like every month. They would come in every month to inspect the home, to check on the child, to make sure that there are no issues. They will ask you how you're doing, if they can do anything for you, which they were supportive in that aspect. Now I will say, like, with children in foster care, they have like Medicaid. So with Medicaid, they would call and even make sure that I was going to be taking her to her appointments. Like if she had an appointment like on Thursday, oh, are you taking her to the appointment? Just a reminder. They do reminder calls to make sure that you are going to be taking the child to the appointment. Which is, I'm like, wow, which is good. It's really, really good. But at the same time, like seriously, every day I was getting a phone call. I was getting some type of communication about her, whether it be email, it'll be a phone call, something. They were asking about her, making sure that she was okay. There's also situations where the child may need therapy. She may need like mental health, social work therapy. There was those weekly video calls where she had to be available. Well, I needed to make myself available, and those will need to be documented as well. So every day, phone calls about her. Then there was a person, people would always say the guardian ad litem. I'm like, what is a guardian ad litem? It is a guardian ad litem. So the guardian ad litem advocates for the child. Like I said, the child has a team. The child definitely has a team. They have social workers. They have the agency. They got therapists. They have the insurance company. They have a team. So this is why I said, if you are considering, fostering a child, you need to have a support system. A support system that's going to call and check up on you. Because with them calling every single day, and you're taking a child to school, or she's riding the bus, and then like a child has behavior issues between medications, yeah, you're definitely, you're gonna need a support system to help you, manage. And when I say manage, I mean like just to help you, keep yourself mentally stable. Because if you're not mentally stable, then how is the child going to be? Because people don't realize, if you're not stable, if you're not stable, how can you expect the child to be stable? That's like when you're in the stores or whatever, you hear like people loud and like their kids are running all over the place or whatever. Like, they're feeding off of the parents' energy, and the people around you don't really understand that, and the children are just following the parents' lead. So it's important to make sure that you're doing, no problem, that you're doing your part. So yeah, it's necessary for you to be mentally stable as well. It got hot out here, child. Oh, there's a cat. But I definitely will say it's a journey. It is a journey because you're trying to have a good impact on the child. And if you want to create a good experience, because that's what we need. We all need good experiences. And you think about it, children didn't ask to be here. Well, really, I don't think, like, they didn't ask to come here. They're not they can't go out and make money like that. Not like adults can make money. You know what I'm saying? So that was the reason that I fostered, because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a difference in someone's life and let them know, hey, just because you had a bad experience doesn't mean life is only going to give you bad experiences. I wanted to make a great impact. And I will honestly say that I did make a good impact. And the reason why I say that is because her teachers would be like, thank you. Well, the nurse was like, thank you. The teachers was like, thank you, you're doing a great job. And they were like, we can really tell that you take care of her. And I can probably be like, they say that because I made sure that she had lunch. Of course, she could eat school lunch if she wanted to, but I made sure she had lunch. She had snacks. When they were doing like trick-or-treating, I did treat bags for trick-or-treating. I did treat bags for Valentine's Day. I wanted to make sure that she felt a part of. I wanted to make sure she felt a part of, like, that she was just like them. So they could definitely tell. Even my mom was like, well, you make sure you take care of her. I was like, I do. She knows she loved. I remember one time in particular where she was like, drawing some stuff. And it was explicit type stuff. Of course, I was like, well, because they wouldn't give the book back to her. So I called a social worker and told her what was going on. And so the social worker, like I said, she was supportive. She met me at the school. And then after she met me at the school, she the teacher, she showed me what she drew. So, honey, I saw the drawings first of all, but honey, she done drew me in the bed, and I had what a man should have in the bed. I was like, oh my God. So, I mean, with a smile on my face. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, where's this coming from? It's like, what? But so I'm sitting up here drawn in the bed, naked, with having what a man should have. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The difference between the men and the women, like down below. I had that in the bed with a smile on my face and a crown. I had a crown on my head. So, honey, at least I had a crown on my head. So I got the book after the meeting, and I told her, when I talked to, the child, I told her, I was like, look, I know you're sad. I was like, you're gonna go be with your mommy and daddy soon. If you need to cry, you can cry with me. You can cry with me. If you need me to come to the school, have them call me. I'll come to the school. I'll listen to you. But if you can, just hold on. Just hold on. When you get home, you can cry. I will listen. You can draw whatever you want to draw, however you want to draw it. I will not judge you. I will not judge you. I will not give you a hard time. I'll ask you what it is, and I'll ask you, do you want to talk about it? But do that at home. I told her, I was like, this is your home. You are safe here. I made sure that she knew that she was safe in my home and that she was loved. But yeah, I don't think that that teacher thought I was gonna take up for her. Even the social worker was like, they were looking like their mouths was like dropped. I'm like, no. I was like, she's going through a lot. I understand that she's having certain behavior issues. I was like, but she's working through them as well. So I do work with her at home. So basically, having a foster child is the same as having your own. It's just comes with a lot more paperwork. I tell you. There's spider webs up in here. So peaceful out here. That's right. Be a foster mom, I had to talk it over with my boyfriend. That was a different situation. Yeah, because he knew that he would become involved, and you know how you have the make or break situations. Yeah, we had like a win, lose, or draw type deal. Like it was a make or break situation. But we got through it. He loved her just like I loved her. It made us. Okay. Because at one point, oh baby, when I tell you, we had some conversations. And those conversations was like make or break. So there were a number of things that, like I said, she did at home and in school. I tried to make it, honestly, fun. Um, Fun because I knew that she was, going through something. I mean, you think about it. Here she is being taken away from her parents, being taken away from her sister and brother, and she misses them. I understood that. My heart goes out like for any child, especially like I said, children, they don't have control of their lives. They don't. So they don't know like really what's how things are happening. They just know they're happening. That's what they know. But my heart went out. Christmas or whatever, I made sure that I sent pictures to her mom, of her opening her Christmas gifts. So people will ask me, but it's only during conversation. They're not gonna come right out and be like, hey, how was it? How was it being a foster mom? It's only in conversation that they will ask that. If I'm talking and I say, oh, my foster child, then they'll say, oh, how was it? They're not gonna say, bring it up. You know what I'm saying? Like some people, they just don't bring up stuff. They're not gonna bring it up. It would be me bringing it up. And then they'll say, how was it? And they'll ask, how things were. Another thing, she knew that I couldn't, physically put hands on her. Like I said, I wasn't her first foster home. So, as part of discipline, she would have to write her name. There'll be writing tasks as well as math. Now, I made sure, that she had math daily to do and writing daily to do, because y'all know how it is. I don't know if you know how it is, like with kids and all, but if they can get away with being sloppy, they're gonna get away with being sloppy. So that was something that was constantly done, making sure that she was writing every day. As far as punishment or discipline to keep her in check, she was writing every day and she was doing math every day. And whenever she was misbehaving in school, there was extra math and there was extra writing. And then I would also I went to the Goodwill and I got her books. So she read books every day. Before bedtime, I would get her to read to me. And then also in the morning before school, I would have her read to me, or she would do kid yoga. That's something that really helped. She liked it. She loved Bluey. So she would be doing kid yoga, or learning how to draw, because they have these drawing tutorials like for kids where you can draw like little cartoon characters. Really cute. What else did she used to do? She loved to draw. She loved to do the kid yoga was another thing. And she used to I used to have her watch the Spanish videos, like learning how to speak Spanish for kids. So she enjoyed that as well. Just thinking about how a mother would feel losing their children, because the lady, she had 3 kids. Like I said, my foster child, she was a twin, and all 3 of them were in foster care. I can't imagine what it would feel like to not have my children, which is another video. I feel like a road, you know how you're walking down the road of life? That's the way it feels. Just walking down this road of life, like knowing that it's gonna be okay, but mentally bracing for everything and anything. But overall, knowing that things are gonna be okay, regardless of what happens. Whenever she had to go to court that day, when the mother and the father went to court, the social worker came to get her, and it was a day. The social worker went to pick her up from school. I didn't have to do anything. She got the medicines. She went to the after-school care place as well. She did all of that, which I was grateful for, because I didn't have to do anything. But I made sure that she knew that I loved her. I told her that, you know, so the question, you know, do I stay in contact with her? I don't stay in contact with her, because the way that the parents are, they were a little messy, and children, she's just like any other child. She gonna say whatever she need to say. She gonna say whatever she want. Not all children like this, let me say this, but she gonna say what she need to say in order to get what she want, if you know what I mean. So she's gonna fib. She may fib or whatever, and could possibly fib on me. Like I said, that was a situation where I didn't, like when she knew I couldn't touch her, or she knew I couldn't physically touch her, she would try and trigger me. She would try and trigger me to because it's almost like she wanted me to touch her. She wanted me to touch her so she could go and tell, and I would not fall for it. And that was not easy to me to digest a child. But I talked to her therapist about it. Yeah, I talked to her therapist about it, and her therapist was like, well, that's the way she's just get used to getting attention, by attempting to trigger people, which is really not good. But I guess, you know, children are they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Adults do the same thing. When they're not getting a certain reaction, they're gonna try and say what they need to say, what they want to say, or what they can say, just to trigger you. It's so busy out here. Gonna go into Trader Joe's. It's hot out here. Face clothes on. So the question now is like, would you foster again? I will say, at first, after everything, I was like, no, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it again, because the agency called me and they were trying to get me to go ahead and foster, continue to foster, because I had did such a great job. There was no complaints whatsoever from anybody. They were trying to get me to go ahead and foster again, but I was like, no. They was like, your licenses are gonna expire, your certifications, you're just gonna have to, you know, expire. I was like, okay. They tried for months to get me to go ahead and foster. You know, after everything, you know, the way things happened, like I said, I knew that she would be leaving. And, you know, when you're going in the thick of it or whatever, you're like, okay, well, I know it's gonna happen. I'm mentally preparing myself. But when it happened, I was like, you know, I thought she would be here longer. If not, I would be able to adopt her. Because that was my goal, you know, my ultimate goal, to adopt. I didn't know she would be leaving so quickly. But like I said, I didn't notice at first. And so that is a question that you do need to ask, you know, the agency before the child is placed. You know, what's the situation like in detail? Ask them in detail, because they'll tell you what they want to tell you. But as you start asking more and more questions, it's just like anything else, you're going to get more and more answers. So I would definitely say ask more questions so that you can get the answers that you need, to the point where you're satisfied. Because this is a whole human coming into your life, and they got a lot of requirements. They got a lot of requirements, more requirements than if you had your own child. You know, if you had your own, but even more requirements than you having your own child. They have far more requirements. So yeah, ask them questions. I just didn't, like I said, I didn't know she would be leaving so quick, because that was a lot for a little bit of time. And I had her for about 4 months. I would do it again. I could definitely say not right now. At this point, just not right now. So I would do it, just not right now. But my goal would be to adopt, not just to foster. That's my goal, because yeah, which there's another video coming about why I want to go that route. But yeah, that was a lot in a little bit of time. Certifications, people coming into my home. You got to be comfortable with that. You definitely got to be comfortable with that. Go, if I did it again, would be to adopt, because I lost my child at 7 months, and it's literally been years since that happened, and I still feel the loss. Time has passed, but it's still, I have a lot of love to give, and that's another reason why I foster it, because I'd rather give it to a deserving individual who deserves it versus people who don't. We all know man, everybody don't deserve your love. They don't deserve it. They take it for granted. Oh, and they'll try and hurt you in the process. So I'd rather love on an innocent child that really don't fully know what's going on versus loving an adult who is fully aware of what they're doing. I know I made a good impact in her life. I know that, she loves me, and she know I love her. But my ultimate goal would be to adopt. But to anybody out there that's wanting to foster, like I said, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Because the more questions that you ask, the more answers you will get about the child, the situation, the circumstances. Like, just keep on asking questions. So if you found any of this information helpful, and you could use it because it's something that you were considering fostering a child, like the video, share the video, or comment. I do believe that awareness helps to shed light on your life, because it can impact you before making decisions. And fostering a child is a major decision, depending, especially just fostering a child, period, regardless of what their circumstances or situation was or is. But consider sharing the video, consider liking the video, consider commenting. I wish I would have, had someone to talk to bounce questions off of, to get input from before just, fostering the child. I didn't know there were different agencies. I didn't know, it's a bunch of things that I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know that like the agency I went through really didn't have like kids like newborns or kids under 5. They call the kids under 5 unicorns because that's something that you rarely ever see, a child under 5 coming up for fostering or adoption. You rarely see it, but different agencies go by different rules. I didn't know that. I will do it again. I will become a foster mom again, just not right now. Give me some time. I guess I'm a little heartbroken over the first child. Although I knew she was going to leave, the way it happened and everything, it's just like, I don't know. It came as a shock. I knew she loved me. I knew I loved her. I told her I did. I would like to be here for her, like certain holidays. Well, holidays, you know, her birthday. I would like to be able to reach out, but the way the mother is, it's kind of like a little messy. And honestly, I don't want any problems. So, love you, baby girl.